Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed ji, ayanu goeiemorgen.
Begheragele, ni hao, churishume, washmale, ohayeb guzaimes, guten morgen, hola, boyor, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasalan marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, suaviab, balli kare aayan. Thank you very much everybody for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very superb, the very amazing Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely great, and I feel like I'm doing a little extra energized and probably excited today. And you know the reason why.
Yes.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Shahzad Khan and I happen to sort of, do our responsibility and appear on the state TV every other morning just because, we love to do this. We love to inform people, not only in Pakistan, but all those living abroad as well, in more than 40 countries in the world as well. But today, specifically, while we do talk about Pakistan, we are going to be remembering and we are going to be commemorating the history of Pakistan in terms of, well, whatever has happened so far, and in terms of all the sacrifices, particularly, that have been made in the line of duty to save the country, to save the sovereignty of the country, and then to save, of course, the nationality that we have today, Shahzad. We have, when we talk about the globe in general, there are so many people living with a refugee status. People living with a status that is not even as a refugee. They have no identity or no nationality on their own. But then we look at ourselves. I mean, we are, alhamdulillah, so blessed to be called Pakistanis. And it's not because of, Shahzad, it's not you or it's not me. I mean, that gave us the status as well. It's our ancestors. It's all those, who fought in the line of duty that I've already mentioned as well. And thus, I think I have established so far that we are here to commemorate the sacrifices of especially the martyrs, not only of, I want to say, the Defense Day, or not only of the Air Force Day, not only of whatever happened in Peshawar APS, not only the martyrs of Kashmir or Gilgit-Baltistan or the innocent people of, I want to say, Quetta even, each and every single person who has laid their life to serve Pakistan and to save Pakistan. We are here to pay a rich tribute to them today.
Wow, amazing that is Shiza Hashmi, and I think that you've set the path right as well, ladies and gentlemen. So, very correctly, my co-host over here has mentioned that it's not about Air Force, it's not about military only, it's not about the Pakistan Navy, but it's about all the Pakistanis out there who wouldn't think twice before sacrificing their life for the security of their motherland. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we'll actually head out towards a short break. But when you guys will come back, we're actually going to introduce our war veterans over here in the studios and war veterans in the making.
Let's do it.
Passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Shandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Shandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Shandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PT while you watching World This Morning alongside Shahzad Khan and Shiza Hashmi. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day where we actually gather ourselves to make sure that we celebrate all of those people who have never thought twice about sacrificing their lives for their motherland. And I think that when we look into that and when we look into those families who've actually given their sons to the soil, they do not regret it. And I think that that's one thing as Muslims which we have realized, that no matter what happens, we're going to protect our motherland till our last breath. And this is something which we have witnessed over years and years and years and again and again. And this is the passion which we have as well. And I think on this day, everybody needs to do the same. Everybody needs to read about their martyrs as well. Everybody needs to know about what went down in history, because if we're going to go back in time, I think we'll actually have to start from the 1965 war. And when we talk about 1965 war, who else can actually share the story better than somebody who commissioned in the 1965 war? Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we have actually been joined by Lieutenant Colonel retired Mr. Aijaz Akram Saab. Hello sir, Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Wa alaikum salam. Good morning to you also.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir. It's wonderful to have you.
It's such a pleasure.
I'm so happy that I cannot even let my viewers know that, ladies and gentlemen, he commissioned in 1965 war, and then he fought the 1971 war, and obviously, you know, then life goes on, and we will definitely be looking into the kind of life he spent and how many of his colleagues he has lost during these wars as well, and how he wants to remember them. I think that's one thing which we really need to talk about. But alongside Mr. Aijaz, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually been joined by somebody who's been conferred upon with the Sitara Imtiaz military as well. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the Air Commodore Sayyid Shoaib Salim Saab. Hello sir, Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Wa alaikum assalam, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir. It's wonderful to have you. And before we get started with our conversation, I think we need to set the mood right as well. So ladies and gentlemen, whenever we talk about 1965 war or 1971 war, Madam Noor Jahan's songs have always been very pivotal and have played a very pivotal and an important role. And this is something which we got to know from our forefathers as well, that, you know, that the military would actually listen to the songs, and Madam Noor Jahan would go to the studios, radio studios, and sing the songs live for all of those people who were out there. Puttar Hatan the name you know, and yes, we are definitely going to indulge ourselves into it. But we do have people who've taken inspiration from Madam Noor Jahan, and they want to play their role even in today's time. So, ladies and gentlemen, a proud son of the soil, Mr. Sarim Zaryab. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Thank you very much for joining us, Sarim. It's wonderful to have you.
You're welcome.
Jazakallah.
So Shahzad, may I begin the conversation, please? I'm really so excited. I want to begin with
yeah, I know that you want to get into the conversation.
I cannot wait.
Direct, but what we're going to do is that we're actually going to give the opportunity to Sarim over here, since he's the youngest. Sarim, what are you going to play for us today?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play two songs. First one is inspired by Madam Noor Jahan, A Rai Haqqi Ki Shahida, and the other one is...
Let's listen to Rahe Haqqi Shahido in the first place.
Okay.
A rich tribute to all the martyrs of Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen.
Start. Excellent.
This was really nice. Brilliant, Sai. We will definitely get back to you and, well, ask you to play another one for us. Is that all right? All right, now to begin the conversation. I have so many questions. I know you do as well, so
Go
I'm going
ahead.
to begin.
Ladies first.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, sir, we have, of course, spoken about you being the veteran over here. But I want you to sort of, narrate the story firsthand. Imagine the youngest soldier of the unit right after, I want to say, passing out, being able to join the war firsthand. And what were you, hardly 19 or 20 years old?
Yes.
First of all, talk to us about the spirit of nationalism that was rushing through you at that moment. And was it hard to actually simultaneously be losing your family and friends and then preparing yourself to fight for the country?
Well, whatever you said is absolutely right. We joined the army, or for that matter, armed forces, only to really go in for this one, you can call it, when the balloon is up. Actually, some people join the army, they don't have a chance to fight any war, they retire as generals, go home. Here I am, a very lucky guy, retired as a lieutenant colonel, but had the opportunity of participating in both the wars. I think there couldn't have been more luck with me. So I got commissioned in 65 September and joined my unit on 14th of September, 7 days after it started. And we continued for next 7 days. Ceasefire was on 23rd September. It was a very great experience being a young guy from PMA straight away. And in the academy, you do all the war trainings, everything on the paper. Books, of course, exercises and everything. But actual real is absolutely different. I like to make a small little story here. When I reached first day, after they welcomed me, same evening, same night, there was a fighting patrol going on. Now, fighting patrol is both the enemy and us, you shows your strength. So you have a patrol, and it's called as fighting patrol, just to show that we are all ready. The enemy also does that. So they put me on that patrol right that evening. You can see how difficult it was initially. Everybody is scared. If you say you're not scared, I don't think that's right. But the only thing is how quickly you can come over with this. So everybody said that's a natural phenomena. So we went into that, and luckily the commander who took me, he was a major from SSG, very senior, and I was just brand new from academy. So we went, and it was for 5-6 hours. We went about 9-10 in the evening and came back after doing all the patrolling by first light. And that gave me a lot of boost, and I gathered all my courage, and I did tell myself, look, whatever we learnt in the academy, here is to practice in reality and actual things. So that boosted my morale, and the shelling was going on from our side, from India side, round the clock. And next day, I think another little shock for me, I saw a shell falling next door, and we lost our two. One was a mess waiter, and the other was a signal officer with us. उनकी शहादत हो गई तो वो भी फिर then this thing continued for 7 days, this mission, that mission, and units on our left and right. This Major Aziz Bhatti Shaheed, his unit was on our right when you face enemy. So suddenly we found his death also. He got the Nishane-e-Haider then later on. So this is how we spent those 7-8 days. Then the ceasefire came on. Then we were there. You can't just come back to your barracks.
Right, of course.
Continued, and after, I think it was about two weeks after, we were still on the border. And I'll show you how we were all motivated as you just played this song. Noor Jahan song used to really, our soldiers used to just be charged, fully charged to go in, especially the song "E Putar Hata Do Nahi Milde." That really was a very booster for these Jawans.
Exactly.
Beautiful. And Shazad, sorry, I know you have a question. Just to add something to that, you know, lately a lot of you must have seen some criticism going on about why nationalist songs must come out. I mean, if they're not serving a purpose, but I feel like they always do serve a purpose. Like, sir, we've been in conversation with similar gentlemen like you, and they have all agreed upon the fact that when you listen to such patriotic songs, especially when you're either at the line of control or the border or in a hard area or just serving your nation, it boosts your spirit so much. It gives you, first of all, that sense of connection to your nation, and then gives you a sense of purpose that this is what we're here for.
Exactly.
And it's going to take you
and
further.
I'm going to add on to this point, Shiza. I think you've made a very valid point over here as well. But ladies and gentlemen, try to understand it this way, that whatever one is capable of, he or she is willing to do it for the country, for the motherland. So if a singer wants to sing, let them sing. If a cameraman wants to go shoot, let them shoot. If there are people obviously and they want to support, or probably there are a lot of people who gather around, you know, were bringing food for or our military armed officers as well. And you know, so everybody was contributing. So whatever way anybody wants to contribute, they should contribute.
Definitely.
But not just that. I'll move on and then come back to the 1965 war as well. So ladies and gentlemen, now obviously, so there was an agreement which was signed in Tashkent, but knowing India, you know how they have been with China, how they have been with Kashmir. Once again, in 1971, they kind of got a chance and they tried to come back to Pakistan. What happened, sir, in 1971?
71 was the same like a misadventure by India, and we fought very well. But before replying to your question, I would really appreciate the madam has really inspired me by saying that we are being a proud Pakistani.
Exactly.
We have a label of Pakistan on our chest, and that is a great blessing of Allah. And this country was created and with the sacrifices for all our grandfathers. And shukr alhamdulillah, we are a sovereign state, Islamic state, and we have a very good patriotism in our hearts.
Definitely.
65 war, 71 war, or any other wars, Pakistan had all played a very significant role. It is not only the Pakistan Army, Air Force or the Navy, the civilians, as you mentioned, Madam Noor Jahan. I remember those days the emotions were so strong that people used to listen their songs in their trenches and they're fighting, and that used to boost up their morale, and they used to be like Allahu Akbar, and they used to move on and crush the enemy. And you have remember that in 65 war, it was a great battle of Chuinda and Lahore. The Indians, they thought they would conquer Lahore within few hours and reach Jamkhana and evening.
And have a cup of tea.
They
It was their General Chaudhry, I think.
Yes, they declared that we'll reach Jamkhana and have a drink at the evening there. And their plan was all scrapped by our valiant heroes and Nishane Haider, Major Aziz Bhatti, and so many other people. And the emotions and the patriotism, I tell you, once I see you people, both such a young generation and energetic, this is a true feeling. In 65 war or other wars, people, they have a lot of respect for the country, and everyone had been contributing. And even today, once we see 14th August, you see the roads, how the people are putting their banners on the Pakistani flags and buntings, and they are singing their songs. And that is the nationalism of the country. And I really am proud of Pakistani. And shukr alhamdulillah, we are a great nation.
Definitely, definitely. And sir, you very rightly said everything and how each and every single person definitely should contribute in their own capacity. But now I think I'm going to take this moment to probably drift away from the history and talk about well, the history in terms of the present. Now, like you mentioned, that India has always had this wishful thinking of probably conquering parts of Pakistan and, well, claiming it as their own. They have been trying to do that, they wish to do that, but that was not only in 65 or 71, sir. Even we lately see how newspapers in India would every other day publish something like Modi waiting to, well, go to Islamabad, or Modi waiting to own Lahore or own Karachi or things like that. Now, when we look at such a state, which is unfortunately our next door neighbor, we can say, just blatantly compromising all human rights charters or, you know, international standards of operating in a system, in a peaceful system. They don't look at that. They'll simply ignore all those things. But Pakistan, being the responsible nation, always abides by something to, you know, maintain the peace in the region, not only in the world, but also in the region. if something similar was to happen again, God forbid, we know that Pakistan will have a brilliant response to shut that down. But so do you think that we can exist peacefully, or I want to say we can coexist to maintain the peace of the world, even in today's time? Or do you think 65 or 71 may probably have another chance in the future as well?
Well,
God forbid.
we want to live peacefully.
We do. Pakistanis always do.
India is, of course, adamant on doing things his way. You see, he's gone on to this. Look at the Kashmir.
Yeah.
They did away with that resolution and
Right.
annexed it. Part of their.
Yes.
It's no more, as far as they are concerned, it's no more a disputed territory. They put it in their map. But I think Pakistan is now
We have it in our map.
reciprocal. Yes, we have done that.
The right thing.
And being both countries being nuclear power, I don't see personally
Yeah.
there would be any war to that extent.
But I would-
Conventional wars maybe not, sir, but definitely the mode of warfare has been changed. I mean, when we're looking at fifth generation warfare, let's see, it's definitely not going to be the display of tanks anymore when we talk
Yes.
about that in a broader picture, but different means maybe, but hopefully not yet. So you wanted to add something to it?
Yes. India basically, they have not accepted Pakistan mentally
from
as a
day one.
Hinduism. Although Pakistan has been created and it is, the two nation has come up on the map, and they should accept it, reality. And we exist, and they cannot change that reality, the borders and the two nations. But their mentality is not to accept. So that is not going to work that way in this world. And you have rightly said, this is a nuclear, and we have to see this a nuclear flashpoint, and the international community must come up
Definitely.
to stop India for any aggression in the future as well.
Exactly, and
Agreed.
I think that we've very rightly made this point as well, ladies and gentlemen, and I think that the world knows about the barbaric and the vulturistic acts taken, or the steps taken by India as well. But not just that, I think what India cannot bear is that, the country being so young, armed forces being so talented, first ever Islamic country to be the nuclear power. There's so many achievements which we really kind of rejoice about as well. But not just that, I think, sir, now the part of conversation which I would love to have over here is, I want you to share it with the rest of the world. How do you think that we need to celebrate our heroes? How do you think that we need to instill this jazba of, of being a countryman, of nationalism, of patriotism? Because I think that this is one of those things which we have been blessed with.
Yeah.
And one of my uncles, who actually has served in the armed forces as well, he told me one day that within these wars, we have our Nara Takbir and Allahu Akbar, and the Indians were very scared of this Nara too as well.
Yes.
Of course.
They were like, they say something and then they come towards us and then they do not stop. So this Jazba Imani, how do you think that we can spread the word or probably spread the feeling into our future generations as well? Because you have done a wonderful job. We are sitting over here talking about Jazba Imani as well. How do you want the future generations to have it in them?
On these days, 65 war, as you already said, I was in Lahore, so I can tell you what happened. When we used to come and go back, the entire Lahore was on the roadside. Jo bhi jiske paas, whatever they used to have, it used to be given to the army.
Wow.
They used to bring their vehicles loaded, food and other materials, and give it to them. Jazba itna zyada tha. And I think the best is to celebrate this, which we already do, that we go to these Shahadas monuments,
Yes.
and we go to their families as far as possible, and you see all those who have been martyred, their cousins, sons, they all want to join the army as sacrifice.
Yeah.
This is a great jazba, as
Absolutely.
इन्होंने कहा है कि वो उसी जज्बे के तहत लड़ना चाहते हैं सारे.
I would like to mention you about 1965 war. At that time, the public, you said that Shohada is not only from the armed forces.
Exactly.
You see, the civilians, they have contributed a lot. That was the Jazba was boosting the morale of our troops on the border. I remember in Lahore, the people used to come out from their homes and they wanted to go to the borders. And they did go to the borders, and I remember one of them brought the plaque of one shop board which was written Amritsar and all Hindi written, and that boosted the morale of the Lahore people. And once the Indian aircraft used to come and our fighters used to be there, instead of getting a shelter, people used to get on the rooftop. It is very famous. From there onward, it is known as Zidda Darane Lahore. And people used to be on the roads to give biscuits and teas and their donations to the army and trucks and flowers, and they used to give it to the armed forces who were going to the border. And that was the Jazba of 65 war.
And I think that this is how Pakistanis have been ever since, ladies and gentlemen, because I think later into after the 2000, I think what we have witnessed is that there was this sad time where Pakistanis were actually fighting against terrorism and extremism as well.
On their
there
own
are
land.
a lot of innocents whose lives were taken as well. We consider them as martyrs, ladies and gentlemen. Not just that, if you go in KPK, they, if you are actually going to ring the bell of any house, leave one house out, I think everybody has lost a son or a daughter in such incident as well. We talk about APS, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about all of those people who always made sure that, that they're going to protect their country, I think are martyrs for all of us as well. And today is the day where we celebrate them. But I know that you have something in your mind as well. I want to go back to Sarim over here.
Okay.
Because tum hi se hai mujahido. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Okay, then.
Wonderful, Sarah.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for performing this for us, especially early in the morning. And Shahzad, this really reminded me of how whenever it was the 6th of September or even the 7th or 23rd March or 14th of August, since I keep mentioning this all the time, I belong to a military background, we always had something planned for the day. I mean, when you live in a society or a colony where all the other military families are living, there's either a parade going, a mini parade of course going on, there are either stalls that do sell nationalistic things just to instill that idea or the spirit of patriotism in the kids as well. I feel like just because we were so young at that time, we sort of took it for granted. I mean, we just really got ready and we were hanging out with our friends, buying things from the shops and even taking pictures with the officers, whatnot. But at this point, when I'm not in that sphere anymore, I really feel like we need to instill those values in every single child in the country.
Exactly. But, since it's that day, that I would actually like to take this opportunity and thank ISPR and the entire armed forces as well, and it's because of the fact that back in 2017 I got this opportunity to host the Defense and Martyrs Day for the ISPR, and I was there. And Shiza, when we got to see the stories of all of those families who've lost their loved ones and the ones who've actually been martyred, you just cannot stop your tears, because obviously the missing is there. But when you look at the jazba of those people, because I met a mother who's actually lost 3 sons, and that too for the motherland, and she again said, even while she was on the stage, she said that if I would have had 4 sons, 5 sons, 6 sons, I would have always made sure that they would sacrifice their life for their motherland as well.
Absolutely.
And ladies and gentlemen, the feeling is surreal. The feeling is so different that it cannot actually be contemplated in words. I think everybody needs to be there every now and then. They've given me a CD as well. I put it back on. And when I look at it, I was like, thank God that I got this opportunity in the first place, and that I am the lucky one to be amongst all of those people who have made sure that nothing is more important than their own motherland.
Absolutely. And Shazad, just listening to your story, and I mean, just listening to similar stories as well, it gives us goosebumps.
Yeah.
It definitely, you know, gives us that feeling. And it is definitely the blood of the martyrs that has helped the nation grow. That is, I want to use the words catalyst or the fertilizer for the soil that we have today over here in the country, that is definitely going to be there for hundreds and hundreds of years more even. At this point, I really want to take a moment of silence for all the martyrs in any and every capacity. And for that, we're heading out to a very short break. Inshallah, when will we come back, we will definitely begin this conversation again, or rather further it. Stay tuned.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned to PT World. Ladies and gentlemen, you watching World this morning alongside Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we gather to celebrate our heroes and martyrs as well. But before we indulge in any kind of conversation, we have something to share with you, which I think is very close to our hearts and to yours too as well. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look.
The Defense Day of Pakistan is celebrated as the national day to commemorate our armed forces, bid to defend the country against India's attack. This conflict is known as the 1965 war. The war caused losses on both sides and lasted for about 5 weeks, though Pakistan's strong defense thumped Indian motives. Empowered with patriotism and courage, Pakistanis tackle Indian attack effectively, making them realize that fighting with Pakistan is not a piece of cake. The day is celebrated to commemorate the sacrifices of Pakistan armed forces and of the civilians. Pakistan Air Forces, with its brilliance, played a pivotal role in defending Pakistan's airspace at the time of war. Pakistan emerged from the 1965 war with India as a strong and self-confident nation, proud of itself and its armed forces. Defense Day should also be marked as a day of thanksgiving. We should all pray for the safety and solidarity of Pakistan, and also that God give us the strength, courage and determination to protect and safeguard the country, the freedom and honor of our homeland, Pakistan.
Well, this was brilliant to watch early in the morning. Thank you, team, for producing it. But here's the thing. So now that we're nearing the end of the show, I really want to talk about what the feelings of the family are. Like you mentioned, when, of course, I mean, the brave son is definitely going to serve not only the nation, but to save the nation. So you were too young when it was your first time to begin with. And you, like we already mentioned, you had lost some loved ones already. So how was your family reacting to the news of you joining immediately? And you yourself have, sir, actually served wars as well and led from the front, been on the line of control for so many days as well. So this question is basically for both of you. How does the family get the courage to let such a loved one go for the war?
You know, my father being from the army,
Yeah.
he's a major, so the day I got commissioned, 11th September, my uncle who was already serving in, he was a junior commissioned officer,
Okay.
15 Baluch, I remember. So he was
Yes, please.
Yeah.
He was shot and shaheed ho gaye. So I had to go to my village just to look him up. There all my uncles, my kith and kins, my whole family, my mother, my grandmother. So they were all, naturally that was a day of sorrow and mourning.
Yeah.
But jazba itna tha that my whole village was there. And they said, here is another son of this village who's going to Lahore to participate in the war which was already on for the last 7 days. So not for a second my father or any member of the family was sad that I'm going into the war. They said, "Bache tum jao, inshallah ta'ala, victory hamari ho."
Wow.
And I tell you, when we used to go, I remember going in uniform on the road in a jeep. It used to be open jeep. People used to stop us, especially the college boys and students. I remember they said they would stop you and say, "Please come to our home. Our parents want to meet you." Wo jazba, 65 come. I just cannot imagine. Then they would say, "We like to," just we like to come to the border with our school buses and all. The ceasefire had taken place. So we brought a lot of people just to give them feeling. Wo aake udhar rona, khushi. They used to see how we live in the bunkers, all that. So Jazba was at the top. And these Ganas and all this, they were unbelievable.
Amazing.
So just by shahadat with Muslims, it cannot be taken out by anyone.
That's
Exactly.
true.
First thing. And Shukramdullah, whenever I went to the borders, and I had been engaged in different capacity, and Shukramdullah, I went very happily that maybe it is my Shahadat time. And I really thank my family also, my parents, my wife and my brothers and my daughters, that they also, although they were sad that I am going to that fronts, but they happily sent me, and their jazba was very high, which motivated me to work there with a peace of mind and concentration to repulse the enemy. In 2000 standoff with India, we had 1 year standoff with India, but without crossing the border, without firing a bullet, we won the war. And their national parties, they had been asking them that what have you achieved out after standing off for 1 year, spending so much of billions of dollars.
Exactly. And sir, we have an example in recent times as well where China didn't actually fire a bullet, not even a single bullet, and they
Indians
kind
just
of,
back-
and
took
they
off.
got what they wanted. But not just that. Now, sir, I think that we are in the most important part of our program where, you know, I want you to actually share your messages for the future generations as well. And before you do that, ladies and gentlemen, this is one thing which I think everybody needs to know, and the family members of all of those people who've actually served in the armed forces or are still serving in the armed forces have to go through a lot. And it's because of the fact that it's your daughter's birthday, but the father's not around. It's somebody's marriage, the father's not around. He's on duty. It's Eid, he's on duty. And I've seen so many, I've seen multiple occasions where, you know, a few of my family members who are serving in the armed forces have not been there. May it be their daughter's wedding too as well, you know, so such important. So what is important for them? The motherland. And I think that this is something where we need to learn. We need to learn from these heroes of ours, ladies and gentlemen, because they have set such an example for us.
Definitely.
That, ladies and gentlemen, nothing is more important than your own motherland, Pakistan.
Definitely, and just adding to that, Shazad, you know, these are some of the very significant events of one's life that you just mentioned, but it's not just that. I mean, I think it's really easy for someone sitting on the internet to call out a soldier saying that, you know, all the nefarious stuff that people have been saying lately, regardless of considering the fact that imagine a soldier who is at the border or at any place serving the nation. I mean, let's say, for example, whenever my dad was in the hard area, and that was for most part of my life, he was not there for my parent-teachers meetings. He was not there to see my result whenever I secured a very good position. He was not there for our birthdays, for all the surprise parties we had. You know, our mom did just to make us feel good just because our dad was not there.
Exactly.
Or we had Eid shoppings, or we had Chandrat outings, anything. He was not there just because he was there to save your land so you could just live peacefully.
Exactly.
These are some of just the minor things I'm mentioning because everything, you know, happens from something small and then goes into something big.
This is where you get your realization from as well, that, you know, they've done so much for the country. It's our job now, ladies and gentlemen, it's our responsibility. And for our future generations, I think I'll move on to Sarim as well. Sarim, what do you want to be when you grow up? Even though you've grown up halfway around, but what do you want to be? Alhamdulillah.
When I grow up, I hope to become an Air Force pilot.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Great. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
As a grandfather, I
Yeah.
didn't know this. Great.
Me and my cousin like make jets out of cushions and we play, like sit in them and play.
Wow.
They
My
could be
cousin
simulation.
also wants
Yeah.
to become a pilot, jet pilot.
So both of you want to be pilot just like your grandfather, and I think that's he's happy today. I
Yes.
think there's nothing more he could have asked
Yeah,
for.
absolutely.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
you know, you are the people who will be the protectors of Pakistan in near future and even now. And you prepared some wonderful songs, and yes, I can only trust you with your capabilities and the kind of capacity you have had so far. But very quickly, sir, before we end the show, we want a concrete message from you for our future generations.
Before I do that, I'd like to mention about 71 war. I was in SCG when I went to war at 71 as a
Okay.
major.
Okay.
So that was a great experience. Of course, we didn't have war all over at that time due to whatever reasons. But I was lucky that my company was deployed, and every second or third day we used to go in Indian territory, infiltrate, and do the small little missions to let enemy know that we are here, the commandos are in for, as they say, you know, secret operations and all. So we used to go blow up the railway line, whatever used to come in way.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Any truck, do the ambush and all that, and come back first light.
Wow.
So it was few hours inside the enemy territory and get back. I had a great time in SSG, and we all in the armed forces join armed forces for this one day. You know, when the crisis are there, when the balloon is up, we are all ready to go and give our lives. Lucky are few who participate, and others, because you have to get ready. Everybody can't go into war.
Yeah.
course.
Every day there's no war. But we are lucky we had a beautiful experience. And my message is that our army is not for, it's not, some guys say, no, they don't look after you. I think army is one of the, not only army, armed forces is one of the great institution. They do care for your officers, men, women, everybody. By the way, now women are as good as men in the army, Air Force, Navy.
And everywhere.
They are all flying. But my wife's first cousin, she was the second GD pilot
Oh, wow.
in Air Force.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So they are all as good as we are. So the message is, army has to go on, and we are all here, our generations, our grandchildren. No, I was really pleased to listen
that.
to his, you know, mindset at this time.
Yes.
And his cousin, my son's son,
Yeah.
he was talking about him.
Yeah.
That's why I keep seeing them, these video games and all. They only play the Air Force simulators and all that. So this Jazba should continue, and we are all there. Inshallah ta'ala, nobody in the world can
Undo.
Inshallah.
undo Pakistan. Army.
Definitely,
Sure.
definitely.
As the end note, we being Pakistani are only because of Pakistan exists.
Exactly.
And we need to strengthen our country, and no evil eye can undo it. India's adventure in 65, 62, 64, 71, and February 27, 17 February, once they send their missions, and any other adventure, we have been able to repulse that. and inshallah we'll be able to, as a nation, not only armed forces, as a complete nation. I just want to give one message, that it is not only the war of battle, war of tanks or the soldier or the guns, it is a fifth generation warfare in which conventional warfare, nuclear warfare and the media warfare and cyber warfare. In this our young generation is doing wonderful thing, and we can really turn the table around by international community putting them into the right picture, that what India is doing and what we are doing, and we are restraining ourselves despite of having a very good armed forces.
Indeed, sir, what a wonderful message as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I would say quite a lot. I think I'm going to read out one thing, and that is something which we have witnessed over the years, Pakistanis do, and that is खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रज़ा क्या है.
Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, towards the end of the show, we like to reiterate the fact that our hearts, our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families of the martyrs who are today here in Pakistan. And it's because of their, I want to say blood, it's because of their brave sons and daughters that we are here alive, being able to say that we are Pakistanis, we own this land, and we will have this as our nationality and sovereignty in the future, hundreds of years as well, inshallah. So we will definitely, I think it's the perfect thing to do to wrap up the show with our national anthem as well. And for that, I think I will have to ask Sarim to take it away, please.
So look after yourselves, people. Stay blessed. Let's do it. Let's stand up. National anthem of Pakistan.
Okay.